there, viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto channel. So it's time to get started back on my Jeep. And last time we left off, we did the rear suspension. We put the upgraded rear sway bar on there, something a little heavier. Of course, we did the rock sliders on the bottom of the rocker panels there. We got that situated. Found out that I was kind of a ding-dong. Put my shocks on upside down. Then I made another statement saying I think you can put them on either way. Completely untrue. Of course, I was doing that on a weekend. Called Iron Rock Off-Road just to be certain, kind of verify some things. And indeed, these Bilsteins can only go on with the piston facing down. So the stickers are legible. And I also used the wrong bushings in them. Correct in the sense that they were the correct size for the bolts. Wrong in the sense that they weren't the ones I was supposed to use. So I ended up using some of the ones that went on the front. Long story short, I had to get 2 more shock bushing sleeves. So not a huge deal. We found out that I do need a parking brake cable and find a solution for the rear brake hose, which I think I might have. I ordered a different length brake hose from Napa. I don't know what it fits. Has the right configuration as far as lines, the 3/8 24 fine thread in and out. So we're going to see if that's going to work. But I do have the parking brake cable, and I've already unhooked the parking brake cable inside the vehicle. You just lift up the back seat and pop the carpet up, and it's right there. So we're going to whip the wheels off it. I'll pull the calipers off it, get this taken care of, see if this brake hose is going to work, and keep trucking. So I'm just going to pull the whole caliper and bracket and everything as assembly, so just the 2 bolts in it. I'm going to end up pulling both sides just because I want to check the parking brake shoes. Now, I did put, as you can see, a new caliper on this side, because back when you guys remember in my intro video, I did throw a set of pads all the way around this, and shortly after doing so, what happened? The caliper seized up, so got the rotor kind of toasty. So I ended up putting a caliper on here and just throwing on one rotor. All the rest of the rotors are in great shape. Yep, that'll work. Set that to the side. Like I said, the shoes are in good shape. I just want to make sure adjustment and everything on them is good. Let's see. It does appear, I believe, to do the cable on this, we got to disassemble the shoes to get the little actuator out, and then unhook the cable from it. And then there's one bolt under here where the cable hooks on. And that's pretty much it. See if I can't just get the upper spring here. Kumbaya, baby, come on. He's a tough little guy. Let's see if I can't get the upper spring off here. Sometimes these things can be pretty dang tight. Let's get down with the hook. I don't know if that one's going to go right there. There we go. Use the axle to your van as kind of a little bit of leverage. They don't have a real big hook on them anyways. So it's just that upper spring. And that's our little actuator. And we get us a 10 millimeters short on the little stubby air ratchet. I'm not sure, yes, this will come right straight out. So our cable is going to go in here, and it's actually going to hook into this portion of it, and then it, kind of folds together up in here. So when you pull the parking brake, that cams that actuator out. Of course, when this shoe hits, then this side shoves forward. I guess if that makes sense. Yeah, a little 3/8 one. So I'm going to take, there's the one bracket, the parking brake cable back in here. We're going to take that off. And it looks like the ABS wire hooks to it also. Take that off. Use our pick to get our cable bracket open. And then, like I said, I already unhooked it on the inside, which I'll show you when we go back together, but it's kind of a piece of cake. Essentially, the cable comes right straight out. And then you can see, the bad spot that was in that cable where it split the sheath. I don't know what the heck hit it, but I didn't want it to cause any problems, and they're not very expensive. I'll give you the part number on that. This is driver's side. Right from Mexico. I don't know if driver's side and passenger side is the same on this. It's just a difference in the way the bracket, so there probably is different part numbers. This is for the left side. Get it out of there. Bring it up here. Slip it in. Now there's nothing that retains them other than spring pressure. Get it through the backing plate there. See if we can get the little actuator back in. Gotta get this behind the axle. Ah! Let's start over. Little guy. Guess I'll get it out of my way for the time being. Once you get it back there, then you have to open it up so the fork, it's going to be really difficult to show on camera, but get it so the fork goes down into the cavity where the wire goes, or where the brake cable comes through rather. And then you're going to have to essentially snag the cable with it. It's difficult to explain, but you'll get the concept if you're doing it. Open her up. Come on. Pull my cable out. Was this your first day, fella?
I could do it better than you.
Thinking I'm going to let you, Hannah. I'm not ready to give up. Let's go with no parking brake. Raw. Oh, you ding dong. My light won't stay. I'm fumbling. I always get fumbly working on my own stuff, Hannah.
Get nervous, excited?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel like a ding dong the whole time I'm working on this thing. Don't even know how to run a wrench. I think it's because I'm still embarrassed about the shock thing and not following directions. And, you know, I don't know what it is. Alright, it is clearly in. I've got to get it back down in its little groove. Pull the shoe back out. Come on, fella. Get in there. People have already quit watching at this point. I would. There. Jeez. Jeez Louise. There. And go on the other side of that cable, Hannah, and just pull the cable in for me just a little bit. Hold the black sheath and then pull the inner cable. Oh! Wrong way there, sunshine. Hold the, see the little cable sticking out?
Yeah.
Hold that and then push the back black sheath towards me now. Keep going, keep going. Oh, just a minute. Keep going. Wham, bam, we're in. All right. I got that figured out. We're just going to put our spring back on, so I'm going to hook it on the bottom. Attempt to pull it with a standard pair of pliers instead of going and getting a brake spring tool. See if that. No, we're going raw dog on this one, Hannah. Already messed everything else up. Come on, little guy. I know you can do it. Light's about ready to get some flying lessons. Brake spring is sitting on the edge. It's almost in. It's in. Holy smokes. About ready to give up.
Go home for the day.
Not on life, just a Jeep. I think I am getting a little bit excited. Then we get antsy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just want to get it done and go use it and break it, work on it and break it and work on it some more. I don't know if that's what you want to do, but I think Jeeps are kind of like snowmobiles. So this is the wiring harness retainer for the ABS wire. I'm just going to click that back in the hole. That is back in. Yeah, I don't know what it is with me working on my own stuff and trying to record it to show you guys. For some reason, I forget how to operate a wrench. My fingers don't work. My hands don't work. I don't know. Probably because I have this idea of how I want the video to be. And then when it doesn't go that way, then I get antsy or something. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Maybe there's a psychologist in the crowd. I mean, I'm good at what I do until I try to make a video and it all falls apart. Oh well, I think you guys like the real life stuff anyways. Alright, there's that. I did save all those little plastic dongers that we're going to need. And then this end, we're going to clip right up in the Jeep, and this is what we're going to see up inside. So I'm just going to reach up in the body and click that in. Oh, it's just stretched. Come on, fella. See a little snug, which is at full droop right now. You can do it. There's half. There's the other two. Yeah. She seems to be a little snugger than the other side. Alright, well, this is what it is. Gotta have a park and brake in New York for inspection. So now we gotta get this little white thing off here. Because we don't need that. These little suckers are stiff. Now these went into the factory bracket on the factory A-arm. But we don't need them. And what I did with this ABS wire, I'll show you on this one, is you can actually move these rubbers where they hook on, so there's not so much, big loops in your ABS wire, so you can run it kind of tight to the cable, put a zip tie around it, that way you don't have to worry about, less likely to have, sticks and crap coming up and hitting it. So we'll just start at the bottom. I'll show you guys that process. So we're going to trim a little bit of the poly loom off. Now these are glued on, or some kind of adhesive, but if you just go around them with a pick, you can crack them loose, and then usually I just give them a little shot of something, your favorite Panther pea, and then you work it down through there. That'll help it slide easier. Once you crack it loose, just go from both sides with a 90-degree pick. Usually you can hear it kind of pop loose, and then you can just slide it wherever you want. And then we're going to stick these retainers on now. The retainers here have that little notch in them that correspond to that notch. So we'll stick that up there, click it in there, and then you can pull your wire tight through there. And then we'll have to trim our poly loom and then just work our way up the line here. OEM. I just need to relax. Been making YouTube videos for years, and all of a sudden I'm nervous. I think as the viewers get perhaps more critical, which is fine. I don't mind, constructive criticism. If I do something wrong, I certainly want to know about it. Or if there's a better method to do something, that's always, why not? And that's what we're here for, right? The only man who never made a mistake is a man who didn't do anything. There we go. And now she's slippery. I suppose if all these retainers are already missing on your Jeep, you could just, zip tie it. Everything would be cool. I'm going to pull just a little bit of slack out of that and take it towards the wheel. There we go. Come on, man, you gotta have your zip ties going the same way. Wire tie This is the cable, and then one there, and then an upper one over here. Like I said, just try to keep stuff from snagging, you know, the ABS wires. There. So that does it for our park and brake cables. Interesting that this one is shorter, you know, despite being OEM. Not much I can do about it. We'll just keep moving forward here. Let's see, the brake hose is what we're going to do next. Now, directions did say to just, you know, zip tie this, you know, park and brake hose to the A-arm, which frankly I just can't do because I think it looks stupid. So we're going to do something different now. I believe there's companies that make like stainless steel brake flex hose kits for these. I know Iron Rock makes them for the front. I can't bring myself just to zip tie this or, you know, bend it and manipulate it in a way that we can use it. So I found this part number here at Napa, did a little digging. So that's the Napa part number. Now it is, hose is 3/8-24 on both ends, but you'll see the dilemma, you know, these come out at a little bit of an angle. You know, not a huge ordeal if we got to make a couple brake lines. I believe that we're going to be able to stick it right on the vent, and we're going to be able to come up to, you know, up to our connection up here. Now I don't know, you know, if this configuration, you know, where it's, you know, half hex, what's it got, 1, 2, 3, 4 flats, and then a half moon on it. If that's how the OEM one is, that's really no big deal to me. We can always just drill out, you know, the upper bracket, put a brake line or a brake hose retainer on it, and call it a day. But we have to look to see which is going to be the best way to mount it. Now the factory one, the hose points out the back. Of course it's on a pipe and then at, you know, at 90s. So I don't know if this one's going to be the best option to have it pointing out the front. And then, you know, flexing it up and around, you know, behind our hose. We have plenty of hose. I think it was like 22 inches. You know, putting that in and then bringing it up here. I think that's the method we're probably going to use. We'll have to kind of play around with it a little bit. See if it's best to have it pointed towards the back or towards the front. So I say I'm going to take the vent hose back off. I never did crimp that cut tight. We'll take that off. We'll take our axle vent out, unhook our brake lines from there. The one brake line we got to redo. This one I think we'll be able to reuse. And then see if we can, you know, use this as a go or a no-go. But I think it'll definitely be better to get rid of the, you know, the solid piping there. Go smaller than that. We grab a blow nozzle, Hannah. Short one's fine. So it's gonna crack loose fine. I'm just gonna blow away some of the junk here before we take that out. Getting all snotty with you, huh?
Yeah.
If you weren't so nasty, Hannah, grab us
You sure wasn't so nice.
yeah, that's your problem. Kill 'em with kindness, that's what I say. It's a 3/8 wrench, 3/8 line wrencher in the red tray. Just gonna throw a pair of hose pinch pliers on there so she's not peeing all over. I've always wondered what it's like to work on Southern vehicles and just unhook your brake line at will with a wrench. Just blows my mind. So if you guys are watching this and you're not a regular to the SMA channel, all I work on is rust, solid, rusty, crappy vehicles all day. So this is like amazing. This must be what it's like to work in Florida or Arizona. You're like, give me that wrench, I want to unhook something. Me, I'm like, give me the torch and a hammer. Maybe that's why I'm out of my norm. Slip that off. I'm just going to put the vent tube right there for the time being. Take our original hose, just set it to the side, and then we'll kind of play around with this idea here. Now I think if it faces forward, or it faces back rather, I just want to see how much of a loop that puts in the rear of it, you know, if that's going to be too much. Get my fingers work here. I don't know. I just don't want it to rub on the tank or anything, because when the axle comes up, it also goes back a little. And I'm going to flip it around the other way just to kind of see. It's going to be our best bet. I think as far as brake line configuration, I really don't think it matters, because you're going to have to tweak them either way. That's facing forward. Just kind of playing around with it here. Might be our best bet. So it'll be up behind the ABS and the parking brake. Be plenty long. And then what we'll have to do is once it's done, grab a forklift or something, stick it under each wheel, you know, flex this up all the way. Make sure that we're not going to have any clearance issues. But I think facing it forward will probably be our best option. I don't see why not. So I just wanted to hook up the one brake line to it. Okay, so let's jump away from here. Because I think if we tweak that line out just that little bit right there, it's kind of straighten it to gain some, hopefully gain some length. Maybe gain a little bit more actually. If I can hold it where it's going to be rigid. Might be enough. What I want to do is just tighten this up just a little bit so we can still rotate it. Let's see, will that be any advantage to us? But the hose could actually be a couple inches shorter. Well, that seems, I don't know if we'll have as good luck with this brake line or not, probably. Even the southern rusty stuff is not that bad. I suppose if push comes to shove, what we could do is we could, you know, if this hose, if we determine this is going to be a little bit too long, we could always just relocate this bracket and just change our flex to, you know, a different point to have essentially the perfect size brake hose, which is, I think is what we might end up doing. Yeah, so this uses the same configuration, the, you know, the four sides and then, you know, the half moon. So let me get this original hose out of the way. Is that a 10? Yeah, that is a 10. We'll probably find that it's just a, you know, a self-drilling screw. Yeah, it's just punched into the body there. There's no inner nut. And then it has, you know, whoops, screw's gone, has its little locator tab. So essentially we can move this wherever we want and then this will fit. Which directions is it going to go? Like I say, if it's not a desirable direction, we could always drill this out. So how this hose fits in here, so it only locks in one direction. And I suppose we could unhook it down there, let that flip over, and that might end up just right for us. So why don't we do that? I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna unhook my one brake line off from that, let it flip 180 and see if that helps us. So I flipped it down on the block, just flipped it over, rehooked the brake line, oriented it in the OEM upper bracket, which it fits fine. Went ahead and just stuck the brake lock on there, the brake hose lock, get it on there all the way. And then now if we actually go right back up into the OEM hole, this is what it will look like when it's done. Now I suppose at this point, you could, if you wanted to wire tie it right to that A-arm, now that's plausible. And that may be our best option. Or, we could run it along with our parking brake hose. We'll have to just get that reattached and then have to see what's going to be the best option to keep it from, rubbing and chafing, and essentially keep it out of harm's way as much as we can. So I think instead of relocating it, let's say what you easily could do, if you decided you wanted this down the frame or up the frame, or wherever you decided you wanted to put it, you easily could use a factory bracket and then just reflare your brake line and move that, which is not a huge deal. But I think we're going to, just for the sake of trying it, we're going to put it right back in the factory spot. See if I can run a pick up through here, get this rubber sleeve cracked loose off from it. I think they're just like the AVS wires. It says a little bit of adhesive or something to hold it on. We're just going to roll a pick around in there, see if we can get that to move. I'm curious if we can just move it up here, and that's where we can, wire tie it if we have to. And then we can essentially just put these rubbers wherever we want them. A little bit down here towards the bottom, it feels like. Yeah, right in here. Come on. There it goes. Feels like there's just a little dab of glue right in here, adhesive of some sort. Now don't jam your pick into the hose. There it goes. There. Felt like it broke loose. Ah, there must be more. I'm going to work at getting this loose. There. It's now loose. We can put it where we want. And you can just see it had some adhesive. A little strip there. A little bit on the back side. Now I think, if we threw, perhaps a wire tie around it there, and perhaps move, this rubber up, where it potentially could chafe on the parking brake. We'll have to let it down and see. But at this point, it's just going to flex at this joint. This hose here can never grow any longer than it is right now. And the only spot that would bulge is right here. I think we'll be in good shape. Still going to allow that to move just a little bit. I think we're going to leave it like this for the time being. See what it looks like when it's set down. Of course, see what it looks like when we're full flex. I can say that now. And then if it's not in the way of anything, it's not rubbing on the parking brake cables, doesn't look like it's going to cause a problem, we're going to leave it. So at this point, I'm just going to make us a new brake line. I'm going to copy our old brake line right up to the point where it goes in the hose. I'm just going to leave it a couple inches longer, and then we'll go back there and see what it's going to need. And the brake line nuts on this are good enough. I'm just going to reuse them. I don't think I've ever used those words in my vocabulary. And then I'm actually going to, I don't have any 3/16 brake line armor here, so I'm going to reuse that also. I should be able to slip it off this hose or this line here. I may not be able to reuse that nut. Line's pinched pretty hard there, so I'm not gonna be able to get it down. We'll just flex a couple times. It's gotta be right on the verge of breaking. Yeah, it is. That just broke off. A lot of times you can just slip this old stuff off. Let me just cut this so it's smooth. There's that. You can actually buy this brake line armor. It also helps assist you in bending it if you're just bending it by hand, because especially like in the heavy line, you can, you pinch it together, you push it together, then you bend it, and it really prevents your line from kinking. So then of course you can just slip it over your new line. We're going to be using a piece of nickel copper alloy, so it's never going to rust. I do not have intentions of driving this Jeep in the salt, so hopefully it stays this way for a long time. This is just a piece of scrap I had kicking around. Don't forget to put your nut on. I guarantee if you do, it'll be the best flare you ever make. And you'll find out there's no nut on there. Happens every time. I do have a brake line video on doing brake lines, so if you guys are curious about the process, a little more in depth, you can check that out. Being in New York, we've made our share of them, that's for sure. Jeez. Everything in the kit's getting rusty. I don't think I've made a brake line in a while. Got my boy Josh over there cranking them out for me. So it's going to be double flare, so we just run the die down in it first. Take it back out. That should put a nice little flat bubble on there for you. And now we're going to invert it. That's where the inverted flare comes from. So you just push it down in. That should give us a nice strong flare. That looks good. Just make sure you didn't crack your hose, or make sure it, make sure it folded down in all the way, nice and even. It's not all lopsided on you. And get your nut up there, and then there's what that should look like. Of course, it's not going to focus, but I think you get the idea. And then it should fit around the top of your nut, nice and even all the way around. So that's that. I'm going to get it bent up, go back there, get it on. Find out if we did a good job or not. This is what my line looks like when it's done. Like I say, put the armor coating back on it. Bent it like the factory one, left it a little bit longer. I'm just going to start it. Probably it would be wise to start it in the brake hose first, because we're going to have to tweak it just a little bit. Now I made it about an inch longer. Get it started in there. Oh man, like a glove. Get it in that hose, and then we'll tighten it up, and then if we've got to go through and tweak it, just lightly bend it wherever you need it. It'll be fine, and of course it looks factory too. So unless we have any big problems with this hose, I think this is a very cheap solution to the problem with the factory one. Get that snapped up. I don't think we're going to have any issues with it. And the best part is, it's a fraction of the cost of like a stainless hose, because it's only, I don't know, I think I paid like $10 for it or something. I don't even know what it fits. I just looked the hoses up by length and then found the one that took the same fittings, just 3/8 24 fittings. And that, of course, had to have the block on it. It came up with this number and I think one other one, but there was some variances in that other one I didn't care for. Tweak that around. This is up above that sway bar. Let's see, yeah, pretty much looks like the other side. All right. Let's give it the grand tour here. In case you want to see how that mounts, in case you're thinking about doing this yourself, I guess the only thing that would be more ideal is if this block was square like the old one. I think you know, easily can reuse the passenger side line. Driver's side line, you probably could reuse it if yours was in good shape. You know, if you straighten out some of the bends, it's going to be long enough. Like I say, I only ended up making this maybe an inch longer total. You know, and then, you know, just hooked it up. Factory. Reuse the factory connection up top. Of course, you guys seen the double zip tie. And, you know, that's how it hangs through there. I don't believe it's going to cause any issues. Like I say, if we got to do something different with the mounting, we certainly will. But, and then, you know, of course, our cable. So we're good to go. I just need to adjust out the park and brake shoes. Before I do that, we're going to go inside, leave the rotors off it, go inside, hook up the park and brake cable in there in case we have to pull it a little bit. This will give it a little more liberty to open up for us if we have to. But I think the rear end is coming along nice. And now we can set it down, tighten up our control arm brackets, or our control arms, bolts, uppers, lowers. You know, I mean, the adjuster nuts tight. Of course, we got to do a wheel alignment, so I'm not going to get too hog wild on them just yet. So come inside here. Here's my park and brake release tool that I use. All it does is just slips over the cable, pushes the fingers down, and away you go. We're going to take and pull the factory cable back. I believe it has an auto adjuster on it, so it does have a fair amount of tension on it. Take and hold that back. Lock into one cable there. Quit being a Sally, pull it back at the other cable. Get that back down where it belongs. Now it's kind of odd to me. Usually these have like a, you know, like a cast ball on the end of them. Kind of peculiar here. This one has, you know, this hook on the end of it. I don't ever recall doing park and brake cables on a Cherokee to know if that's factory or not. I don't believe anybody's ever touched it. Let me go up in the passenger side and give it a couple little toots. Of course, I don't want to yank it too hard because the rotors are not on it, but at least you'll be able to see it actuate. So that's how that works. That's what's happening under your seat, you know, while you're pulling your cable. Let that down. Put our carpet back. And we're done. So you can go behind the backing plate. There is an adjuster hole there. I'm just going to give it a few clicks from out here, assuming I can. We're going to get it really close. So I'm just lengthening the adjuster here. Center of the shoes. So I think we went a little too far. I don't think it was that far out of adjustment. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tight right there. So we'll just back it off a few clicks now. Let's see where that puts us. Little bit of light drag, that'll be perfectly fine. Just gonna wipe out the inside of our rotor here before we stick it on forever. And the other thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take just a little bit of fluid film. I'm just gonna get some inside the actuator over here. Keep it from seizing up in the future. So I don't have an intention of, you know, driving this into salt and crap. Again, just a little bit on our star adjuster on the exposed threads there. My hub face already has fluid film on it, or the end of the axle shaft there. We'll slide that baby on. Wipe it off with a dirty rag, of course. Probably should go get some brake cleaner. Then our wheel extensions on there. Now I've got 1.5-inch wheel spacers because it's my intention, if we can, if at all possible, I'd like to run the factory wheels. Now the tires I bought, or the tires I'm going to use on it, will fit on the factory wheels because they're 7.5 inches wide. And the tires were approved for like a 7.5 to a 10-inch wheel, I believe it was. So I'm going to put a little fluid film on that. We'll grab our wheel spacer. And these I did get from Iron Rock Off-Road. I don't know if they make them or if they have them made. I've been dropping stuff all freaking week. But these are very well made. They're, you know, not only stud piloted, they're also hub piloted. So it pilots on the hub and on the studs. So I mean, there is virtually no play in those. And that's always kind of one of my worries about aftermarket wheels. You know, a lot of aftermarket wheels you buy, unless you're spending big money, are not hub piloted. You know, they're just piloted on just the wheel studs themselves. And that just puts a lot of stress on just the studs. Just my personal preference. You know, I prefer it when the wheel is, you know, hub piloted and stud piloted, in my opinion. And make sure you read the directions when you get these. They may not approve of, you know, any grease on the wheel studs, stuff like that. But we'll put these on, and we torque all these down, and then essentially you just put your wheel on as normal, put it on, torque it down. Basically just spaces it out 1.5 inches. Suppose we ought to put the caliper on and bleed the brakes too, right? Yeah, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. Man, this stuff is turbo. Nope, it didn't. Definitely is not 10 millimeter, is it? Oh, crap. I got brake fluid on my new parts. I'm just going to let this sit here and bleed out into the bucket until it pushes the air that was in that line up through the caliper. Shouldn't take it too long. I've got my power bleeder hooked to it. And I've already flushed these brake lines out. Just do this side, do the same thing on the other side, and we should be good to go. So here it is, vehicle sitting on the ground. I came down, you know, with all the weight resting on it. I want to tighten up these lower control arms and the jam nuts on the control arms and on the A-arm before I forgot. And here's how the brake hose sits. I honestly think it's going to do really well. Ample clearance behind, you know, the park and brake cable. Now I think up on the park and brake cable where it hits on this upper A-arm. Can you guys see that? Yeah, probably just just a little bit. I think I am going to take, you know, essentially like a rubber sleeve, like what's on these brake lines, stick around the park and brake cables just so when, you know, you're going down the road, you know, these are, you know, they don't have a tendency to, you know, want to wear through that sheath. So we'll probably just take a piece of like 1/2-inch heater hose, split it, you know, stick it over it, and then, you know, that'll just keep from, you know, chafing through on those. But you can see that brake hose that we decided to get looks like it's going to work good. If not, you know, when we start, you know, flexing it and stuff each way and compressing it, you know, I'm just going to leave the zip ties for now. I thought, you know, if we end up having to mount this down a little bit further, we could get, you know, like one of those metal wire holders that are, you know, or loom holders are metal and rubber coated, and you could put like a 3/8 bolt through them. I figured we could stick it over top of that, you know, have the eyelet hanging down, stick another one on a brake hose with the eyelet hanging up, and then just, you know, essentially bolt them together is what I think that we could do, you know, simply, you know, just kind of simple fabrication, you know, use something that already exists. So for now, we're just going to stick with the zip ties, see how it works out, be able to let it, you know, pull it back and forth through that sleeve. But I think everything is coming together really nice, despite some of my errors. It's looking good. Very satisfied with the products that Iron Rock has made, I'll tell you that much. For what it's worth, I did shorten up this ABS wire. You can pop the rubber plug out of the body. You know, again, it has like a little adhesive on it, crack it loose, and then you can change the length of the wire to whatever you want. So I just made sure there's enough sticking out so it flexes. And if you couldn't see what I was talking about where the cables were hitting, you know, it is right up here on this A-arm. Like I say, I'm just gonna get a little, you know, maybe like a 4 or 5 inch long piece of rubber hose, stick over it, and then I think we'll be good. And that's it. It's late, I'm going home. So we'll leave it at that, folks. I think the back end is just about wrapped up, besides putting, you know, a lock or whatever we decide in the rear differential. I think at this point we're gonna keep focusing on the lift, get that finished, get the alignment done, make sure it drives, and, you know, fix any kind of vibration problems, stuff like that we have. So we're gonna keep motoring. I did get my new axles today, so I accidentally ordered the wrong front axles because we're converting it to U-joints. The new ones did show up today, and I also ended up, being that I was going to pay the shipping on those axles, I bought a transfer case skid plate from Iron Rock also, so we'll see how that fits. So that'd be pretty cool. It's going to be like the whole Iron Rock WJ when we're done. More than likely. I just like their products. It seems to be a great company. You know, really pay attention to detail and how their products are made compared to some other ones that I've looked at prior to, you know, making a decision what I was going to purchase, whether it's, you know, Rough Country or whoever it was. When I started seeing Iron Rock stuff, you could tell, you know, the quality is there. Of course, it does, you know, cost a little bit more, but, you know, you get what you pay for in most cases, in my opinion. And with that being said, I'm out of here. It's late, worked all day. Go down there, click subscribe. Be sure to keep a lookout for some new Jeep videos as we progress along with this. So ring that bell so you don't miss those notifications. Find us around socials, whatnot. And don't know what else to say. So just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.